Good morning, JP. Good morning, all viewers. As you can see on the table, I've got JP's FF-240 Pegasus engine here, fully assembled. Today I'm going to check I'm going to check the compression of each of the cylinders and then set or at least check the valve lash on these things. So I've got a variety of tools here. I've got the valve lash setting tools for my Pegasus engine, my Super Gemini engine here, a bamboo skewer, a nut driver, and I fitted a prop on here. So the thing with this is not a prop that would be used with the engine. This is simply just to allow me to rotate this thing through compression. I've also got it sitting on a foam block. I don't know the best way to actually try to do this. I think the best way maybe would be if I put it on my upright like I was going to run the engine, but then the prop, I wouldn't have enough clearance here to make the prop spin over. So anyway, it's kind of one of those things. This is kind of a challenge to do. So because the thickness of this prop and the way it's mounted on this engine and my Super Gemini, same thing, and my Enya 90 actually, this prop is from my Enya 90, have these big prop nuts that actually go all the way through the prop. So you have to really hog that hole out really large to facilitate this. That's why when I run engines of this size, I don't really have that many props to choose from, because once you hog a prop out, then it can't be used for any other engine. So my 14.6 prop here is what I've got. This is what I've used on my Enya 90. It was the smallest diameter prop I could use so that I could at least try to make this a little more usable than a 20-inch prop. So what I'm going to do here is I looked in the instructions for the 320, and believe it or not, they didn't say what the firing order was of this engine. They might in older instructions, but the ones I downloaded, I was not able to see that. So I actually did a search on Google and came up with some website, overseas, where they were theoretically had these for sale, and it actually had a firing order there. I even looked in all the review articles and I didn't see where it listed the firing order. And the reason that's important for me is because I'm sitting here and I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, I feel compression. Okay, I think I feel compression. Oh, I feel compression. Oh, I feel compression. It's like, when are you may be feeling compression and it may feel a little bit lighter or lesser or whatever, but you don't know what cylinder it is. So the firing order, according to what I've read, is 1-3-2-4. So right now I've got all the plugs in there in every cylinder and they're tight. So I'm feeling compression, 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 compression. So I think you have a little bit of this, because I don't think it's going to be compressing on every rotation, but I'm not sure. So anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just start loosening. I'm not going to remove all the glow plugs because that's really tedious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them all to at least like 90% out, so there's a thread left, so that I'm not sitting there fumbling around with glow plugs. Oh crap, I didn't want to do that. Go back in there, one thread. But yet enough to facilitate losing compression. So hopefully when I do this on all four, it should feel like there's really little compression at all. Now see, I'm still feeling, it's funny, is I can see the glow plugs breathing. I'll call it breathing. Or at least I can see this one. Yeah. So, shoot. I don't want to have to take these things out and rethread them every time. That one's pretty much out. I want to get it so that there's one thread basically, and it's not like, because I want to keep the plugs, per cylinder. So I think I've got every one. Okay, there we go. So this is just the resistance of, this one's about to fall out. This was just the resistance of, and they're still kind of sucking on the plugs a little bit there. I know you're not going to be able to see it here. I've also got another camera angle set up here, which I don't normally do anymore because it's complicated, especially for editing. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to, if it's the firing order is 1, 3, 2, 4, I'm going to screw in number 1's plug so I can see what the compression of the number 1 cylinder feels like. Okay, so here we're coming on to compression. Okay. That's kind of what it feels like. So let's see if I feel compression, another compression stroke right after that by doing the number 3 cylinder. If the firing order is like 1, 3, 2, 4, then I should feel consecutive. 1, 1. Okay, so now what I want to do is, one of these cylinders doesn't feel the same. The compression's lighter, so what I want to do is, and I probably should have taken the valve covers off first. I'll have to pause the videos to do that so I don't run out of battery or get back in there. One thread, come on, just one thread. Okay, so I'm coming into compression on 1 now, so I'm going to leave it like that so that I know that I'm coming into compression on 1 there. So this is number 1. Okay. 3. This is really so subjective. I mean, one of them does feel like there's more compression than the other, but I get confused by the rotations there, and okay, so 3 feels, well, it's such a subjective thing. Does it feel lighter or does it feel, I mean, because, oh boy, that's just tough. Because now 3 seems to feel lighter than 1, but see that it feels, I don't know, they feel now they feel about the same. I'm becoming just, it just feels like it's the same there. So anyway, what I think I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to pause the videos, remove the rocker covers or the valve covers, and just start checking valve lash on these things, and then set the valve lash if any of them need to be set. Now I did do the valve lash on the number 2 cylinder yesterday off camera, because this was feeling very light on compression. I mean, noticeably light. So what I found was, in the process of setting the valve lash, the go gauge is a 0.04 millimeter, and the no-go gauge, what I call it, is a 0.1 millimeter. I had it set, the exhaust set to 0.04. It was just pinching that gauge, and it was too much. It was even too much then, because it was keeping the valve open just enough so that it was there was not any real good compression there. So I had to widen the gap. And then there's tolerances in the manual also that says, hey, if that's not enough and you don't have good compression, then just let it go up a little bit more. So they're like, it can be in this range of 0.04 to 0.1. I like to usually set them at 0.04, but if I have to set it so it's a little looser to make sure that the valve actually closes, then that's what we're going to have to do. So I'm going to pause this real quick and get these rocker covers off, and we'll start checking the valve lash. Okay, I think I've got a setup that's somewhat maybe conducive to doing this. This just isn't something that's easy to film doing. I've still got the two cameras, excuse me, I still have the two cameras set up, and we're going to do the best we can here with showing you the process. Obviously this is much simpler with a single cylinder engine than it is here, but the bottom line is I'm going to start with the number 2 cylinder. Well, actually I don't, because I've already set the valves on that. I'm going to start with the number 4 cylinder here, and basically on this side of the engine, if it was a traditional single cylinder engine, this would be the intake, this would be the exhaust. But it's not on this engine, but the concept is still the same. So what I'm going to look for here is the intake, I'm calling it the intake, to go down, the exhaust to go down, and then we come up to top dead center. Intake, exhaust, or maybe it's, as long as I'm getting it top dead center, it doesn't really matter. So I'm watching, okay. Intake, exhaust, and then we're coming up to top dead center. Now, when I check for top dead center, I stick my little wood dowel in here, and I go backwards and I just feel for top dead center. And in fact, it's probably almost easiest for me to just sit and watch it because I can see the piston hit. So we're at top dead center here. So I've already, excuse me, I've already got my wrench, and like I said in the previous segment, I'm using the tools from my Super Gemini because they're the same. I didn't want to disturb the ones in JP's box because the box is way up in my closet. So I'm just going to set this here just for now. I'm just going to check the lash. So I'm using a 0.1 millimeter. This should not go in, but it is. Here, it's not going in. So let me rotate these things around again. Down, up, down, and then here. It's definitely top dead center. So my 0.1 should not go in here. It's going in there very easily. Not going in here. So that one's not going in. So that exhaust, or that's the exhaust side. Wow. It's tight. It's not even letting that one go in. So both of these valves need to be adjusted. So I'm going to loosen the lock nut. And where's this guy? I need to get this in here. Now I'm going to slide this in here. I'm going to open this up until it just goes in there. So it's just starting to grip it there. Where did that little... Let's see if we're still... Okay, so it's just nipping it, so we're good there. Just gotta get this in there. You know what I think I might use? I think I might use my ground. I'll grab my ground driver real quick. It doesn't have that L on there to help me hold it in position, but it gives me a little bit better feel with these little things. Okay, so anyway, that one is just nipping. Actually, it's kind of nipping a little bit too much now. I don't want it too much because of what I found with the number 2 cylinder, and it was like that. So I'm going to loosen that up again. Stick this up in here. 0.04 in there. Rotate it till it's just slightly nipping it. Hold it as tightly as I can. Oh, that feels nice there. Now that should be nice and tight. And so that doesn't go. So that's good. Obviously that's not going to go. Let's see what this one feels like. So that one was really loose. So that one we need to run down a little bit. So loosen. Put the 04 in here. Tighten it until I just start to see that. These are like microscopic movements I'm making on this thing. Too much. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there. Hopefully that won't go through. Oh, that feels great. That feels good right there. So now what I'm going to do is take that thing off, run this thing through here a few times. Just run it through. Now reset it to down, okay. Down, down, up, both are not moving, and we're at top dead center. So now let's check 0.1. It's going in there. That one's definitely not. Let's check this one, make sure what this, see what this feels like. That's nipping a little bit too much, and that one's, see, it's almost like it's exactly like it just was. That thing just doesn't want to. That head is just so shallow. Let's see what this feels like. The head on this thing is so shallow that L wrench just doesn't want to sit in there at all. So I need to have some straight downward pressure on this thing. So that doesn't go. And that doesn't go, so that's good. This is probably, is just nipping. I could probably just leave that like it is. If I had that section in the owner's manual that said that. What I want to do now is find the proper glow plug here for this engine, or this cylinder. Find my nut driver that's way over there. Put it in here. Let's see what the compression feels like. Of course, now I don't have the prop on it either, so I'll be feeling the compression without the prop, which changes the way it's going to feel a little bit. Oof, wow. That feels good. Ooh, I like the way that feels. Okay, so that one is good. I really like the way that feels. So what I'm going to do here is just one more time, just go a little deek. I didn't move anything. I just want to make sure it feels tight. Okay. So that one's set. The valve lash is set on that engine. Now I'm going to sit here and do the other three, and I'm not going to videotape them because that's really tedious, and I'm not going to do it on video. So anyway, that's the process. I'm going to do that same process. I'm going to redo this one also and maybe set them all the same so that there's just in that range of go, no go. So that there's not any, I'm not going to be too precise about saying, oh, this has to be nipping right at 04, because I found with this cylinder when it does, it was just not enough. And it was not giving it enough, so I'm going to have it do a little bit more than that. But anyway, that's the process for setting the valve lash on any 4-stroke engine, but demonstrated on this one. Okay, so I'm back here. I don't have the rocker covers on, I just left them off. All the valves have been, or the valve lash has been set on all cylinders. I've reinstalled the prop, and now I'm going to do my highly subjective compression test yet again. Oof. Oof. I can feel wow. I can feel I can really feel a significant difference in compression across all 4 cylinders. So here's what I found with this engine was that, let me turn my overhead light off, or my headlamp. What I found with this was, so when I took the rockers off and took the engine apart, I didn't loosen up the rockers at all. So, and even though I maintained integrity between each cylinder's parts, I did not maintain integrity between each cylinder's exhaust and intake, nor their push rods, because it really doesn't matter with an engine this low time and with a model airplane engine anyway. I've never seen a reason to maintain that level of detail. It just doesn't matter. They're just not going to wear unless it's been in a serious accident. So there was a 50-50 chance when I reassembled these heads that I had the right one on there. And what I was finding in here as I just put them back on, nothing else had changed. I hadn't set them anything. Every one of them, there was a couple of them that was too wide open. I mean, much greater than 0.01 or 0.1. But all the rest of the valves or the lash was set way too tight. It was all less than 0.04, all of them. So now I've got it set somewhere slightly greater, the gap slightly greater than 0.04, and I am feeling really, oh wow. I mean, this feels night and day different than it did just 15-20 minutes ago, or however long ago it was that I did this. I mean, really, it almost feels like there's so much compression here, it almost feels like I just filled the crankcase with mud. So I mean, this thing has got some superior compression, and it feels very consistent across every revolution here. So I think that, JP, if you were experiencing any kind of light cylinder compression, it was probably your valve lash was set, because like I said, most of them were too tight on either one. I don't remember which, if it was exhaust or intake. It doesn't matter. If it's too tight, it's not going to allow the valve to close all the way, fully seat, so you're going to have a loss of compression. So too wide of a gap is also an issue, because then you're not going to get the valve opening all the way. So that may result in something else happening, but I don't believe it may just result in a loss of power, but it certainly isn't going to result in a loss of compression. So this thing is in, man, I'd love to just take this out on the stand and run this thing, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get that done here soon, but I'm certainly going to give it a shot. Anyway, so this thing is basically, the only thing I have yet to do is I haven't actually checked the carb to see, do my initial carb setup on it. But other than that, this thing is ready to rock and roll.